Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Sometimes I put these things out in the ether just so that I can be proven wrong and be super happy about it.
And Brandon Schultz.
Now, are we more like Norman Cliff or are we more like Woody and Sam?
Go Hawks!
This is episode 223 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers. And here I am, joined by my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Good morning, Mr. Schultz. This is an absolute pleasure to join you on such a gorgeous fall day here in Montana. My favorite time of year, coming off the win, which still has me, all aglow. But with a tinge of sadness with some of the other news that has come forward this week with the passing of Paul Allen. But all in all, good day.
Very sad news this week. I want to start by thanking Mark Ty Turner for joining me to do the Paul Allen tribute show. And It just seemed appropriate to put that show, to wait this week, put it out on Blue Friday, and then follow it up with a recap show, you and I.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad Mark was able to take the time for that. Somebody who he's basically a Seahawks historian.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have him and really go into length at what Paul Allen meant to the Seahawks and means to the Seahawks, that was great. So big thanks to him for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
A lot of talk about still with the Raiders game, and Adam and I want to get into just some of the highlights from our trip, too, which we touched on it a little bit in our post-game show as best as we could with our voices still struggling. And
right.
I'm still recovering a bit myself. I'm not back to 100%, but that's okay.
I'm at 93.6%. So pretty much there.
Yeah.
Pretty much there, but not peak. Not peak Adam right now.
Oh, it's
real close, though.
Where it's getting me is I get to about 9 o'clock at night and I'm done.
Yep.
and normally that's when I'm doing my podcast stuff is from, around 9 to midnight. But no, it's not happening this week.
No, which is surprising because if there's anybody I know who's a vampire, it's you. You run on the least amount of sleep of anybody I've ever met, maybe short of my dad.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's what allows me to do stuff like this. But I think it's because I went so many, I went on so little sleep in London that it's catching up to me.
Holy smokes. Yeah, we were going. That's for sure. But worth every minute of being conscious during that entire trip. So glad that we made the trip. Again, so stoked to have met all y'all over there. What a freaking ball. But we'll get into more of that. The Seahawks win. And the Seahawks surefire victory over the bye week this week.
Yeah, it's nice to have so much momentum going into that game against the Lions coming up. But 27-3 over the Raiders. The Raiders go to 1-5. The Seahawks improve to 3-3. And Pete Carroll now has more wins than any other Seahawks coach in history. Passing the big show, Mike Holmgren.
Basically, the two guys that you point at that you say, those are my guys, right? I mean, at least for me, those are my two favorite coaches in Seahawks history, no doubt about it. And then basically that equates to winning. That's why. The more wins, more favoritism. I love both those guys, but Pete definitely bringing a level of success to the program that hasn't been accomplished before. I mean, obviously, 2 Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl ring, and now the most wins in franchise history. And he did it in a shorter time than the Big Show.
Yeah, we talk about Paul Allen's passing. It's not coincidental that those are the 2 successful coaches that were brought in by Paul Allen. And you have the 1 year where Jim Morris Jr., where he goes, yeah, that's not working. Let's move on. Let's get Pete Carroll in here. And it has been under owner Paul Allen where the Seahawks have had this kind of really historic success for the franchise.
Yeah, he's provided a lot of stability and then also has a knack at finding people who can do their job well and then being able to step out of the way and allow them to do their job. With that formula, we've had really over the last couple decades, the most successful run of Seahawks football ever. Right. Short of a down year here or there, that, like you mentioned, Jim Mora, who I keep trying to forget, but he was here. Much like the action green jerseys, I keep trying to forget those, but they were here. But, really, this era of Seahawks football has been really a positive experience. And Pete Carroll is keeping it going, and they are starting to roll right now with a mollywomping of the Raiders.
Yeah, that was, road games just aren't like that, Adam. That was not your typical road game experience. And I don't know what to equate it to. I know I heard Pete Carroll saying it was more like a bowl game in college, that type of atmosphere. The only other experience I have to compare it to is Super Bowl 48. And I guess considering the outcome and just how dominant they were, it was a little bit like that. Where does a game like that rank for you for the games that you've attended?
I don't know where it put in there in the rankings. It was unique. I think that's the biggest thing about it. That was such a unique experience. The fact that as you show up to the stadium, you're seeing all the other jerseys and stuff from around the NFL, but a few Raiders fans sprinkled in, and them trying to do their little lame Raiders chant and stuff that didn't really work. And then getting into the stadium, and the second that the Raiders came out onto the field, the showering of boos, the chorus was so loud. That was unbelievable. And then as the game started to progress, just how much the 12s had taken over that stadium, it was really unbelievably impressive. And then also to watch the team go out there and execute the way that they did and really just play that physical brand of football and just bully the Raiders all over the field. Out of all the out of all the games that I've seen live, I mean, it's probably in the top. It's probably in the top 10. There's been a lot of games. It's hard to match a clink, man. Let's just put it that way. Even if it was the clink Far East, which is what we're calling Wembley now, because that's our other. We've got Clink East, which is MetLife Stadium, right? Because we always win there. Now we have Wembley, which is the Clink Far East. Fantastic stadium, a really cool experience. But gosh, man, I don't know that I can put it above a lot of the games I've seen at the Clink.
Well, it was a dominant performance. They hold the Raiders to just 185 total yards, 106 net pass yards, and Marshawn and company to just 79 yards on the ground. In terms of the offensive line, in terms of the defensive line, clearly the more physical team, and you knew it by the second quarter.
Oh, geez, you knew it by the first drive. Open up with 7 straight runs and just jelly it right down their throats. Like, there was nothing that the Raiders could do. I went back and I watched at least the first half last night. And because again, we saw it live, so we didn't see the TV copy, hear the announcers, kind of see it from that regular view that you're used to from the TV copy. And they flashed to John Gruden about play 5 of that drive. And he's just there with his arms crossed with the Chucky face on. You can tell he was just like, got no answers for this.
Already
We're
there.
screwed.
No.
Yeah.
And something seemed off about the Raiders, too, because as the Seahawks approached the goal line, kind of an interesting play right before the touchdown where Russell Wilson finds Tyrone Swoops.
The Raiders load up at the line of scrimmage. They're saying somebody moved. They didn't. Quick slant inside. It swoops. 10, 5, down to the 3-yard line. Everybody on the Raiders stopped and started pointing, thinking a Raider had, make that a Seahawk, had moved at the line of scrimmage. No call by the official. Russell takes a snap and just throws a slant to a wide-open Tyrone Swoops, and he runs right down the middle of the field for 23 yards.
I respectfully disagree with Rabel. I don't think they thought somebody on Seattle's offensive line had moved. I think they were trying to communicate some sort of audible.
Right.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is what it was, because the thing that may have tripped him up a little bit was that Tyler Lockett initially lined up in the backfield, and then he went in motion to the outside. And then that's when I think the defense was trying to communicate a change. And Russell just said, okay, snap it. Here we go.
Yep.
And
here we go.
And as soon as he saw them kind of stand up, that was his cue to go ahead and get the jump on him.
So you hear Trent Dilfer talk a lot about the layers of playing the quarterback position. Steve Young talks about this quite a bit too. What Russell Wilson's doing now with the tempo and just the timing of snapping the ball, this is one of the top layers of playing the quarterback position. It's having an understanding and awareness of not only what you're running, what the defense is in as far as their coverage, making sure that you're calling line protections and all those things, but then also looking to see if the defense is prepared or not, when they're prepared or not, and taking advantage of that when you can. And that's another thing. When Pete Carroll talks about Russell Wilson's doing more things than he's ever done before, this is an excellent example of that. And he really did catch him off guard. But
Russell Wilson, he had a terrible game, Adam. He only threw for 222 yards.
Oh, my gosh. They should have benched him and put in Brett Hundley.
A really efficient game for Russell Wilson. 23 attempts, 17 completions, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just had the one pick trying to force it in there to Doug Baldwin, but he did start the game off with a touchdown drive, their first one since 2016, and he finds Jerron Brown in the end zone.
He takes the snap, looks right, steps up, fires inside, touchdown! Seahawks! Ball is caught by Jerron Brown, 5 yards deep in the end zone, and the Seahawks get on the Wembley Stadium scoreboard first.
Yeah, it's been an awfully long time since we've had a first drive touchdown, and that felt pretty darn good. It's nice. It's nice having those 7 points up there with the defense with a little bit of a lead that can start pinning the ears back, and they took advantage of that early. And you can see how nice it is to not only win the game in the fourth quarter, like Pete always talks about, but start winning the game in the first quarter.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. And it does when you start the game off with the lead, and then guys like Frank Clark can just absolutely take advantage of the rookies and the backup players on that left side of the Raiders offensive line and do things like strip sack David Carr on one of their first drives.
Jared Cook slots on the left side. Here comes the rush on Carr. He gets hit. Ball comes out. The Raiders fall on it, but now the Seahawks have it. They pick it up. They're going to go. No, it's going to be spotted down. First down. Seahawks inside the 25-yard line. A strip sack by the Hawks. Jaron Reed is the one who recovers.
Okay, now I've heard 2 radio highlights now from the Seahawks broadcast network, and I've heard 0 Wyman chuckles.
I know,
and I'm getting sad. He better chuckle at some point.
We do have a lot of highlights for this game. So
this game was laughable. So you think he would be able to sprinkle in a few for me? Jeez Louise!
I know that's our entire set of highlights for the first quarter, and no Wyman chuckles.
Look, I'm going to say this, and this might be an unpopular view, but I'm really glad Frank Clark got sick in the second half because he could have finished this game with 23 and a half sacks, I think. Mm-hmm. And then trying to pay him coming into this next year would have been that much harder. So by him getting sick, it may have saved us a couple dollars against the cap coming up here.
He may be a little more affordable when the Seahawks comes time to pay him.
Exactly. So I'm feeling very fortuitous for that. Now, look, Frank Clark was absolutely dominant. I mean, absolutely dominant.
Yeah, he took over this game.
It was unbelievable. And they had no answers for him all game. And the thing is it wasn't just him. Jaron Reed, Dawes Jones, everybody getting in on the act.
Yeah, Quentin Jefferson, Brandon Jackson, those guys had tackles for a loss. Quentin Jefferson had the sack. Brandon Jackson had a sack. Yeah, it was just a dominant performance by the defensive line, and kind of cool too, considering that this was the team that fired Ken Norton Jr. last season. Now he comes to coach the Seahawks as the defensive coordinator, and Oakland fans wanted nothing to do with him, and we're happy to see him leave.
Yeah, I think if you look at the coaches that the fans of each franchises did not want on their team any longer, I think we can say we came out on top on this trade. Bringing Ken Norton back and then having Tom Cable go to Oakland was a godsend, apparently. Now, I think one of the reasons we were able to bottle up the beast as much as we were is not only were we really, really familiar with Marshawn, right? But we all knew exactly what Tom Cable was trying to accomplish and how to attack it. I think that was an absolute advantage coming into this game.
The fact that they had so many injuries on the offensive line too, that certainly played into the Seahawks' favor. But yeah, no, there's definitely familiarity there, right?
Yeah, and then watching that offensive line with talent on it still, even with 2 injuries. I mean, their 3 dudes in the middle are not the worst. That's for darn sure. And Tom Cable has managed to ruin them already. That was kind of a joy to watch. Just be like, watching your quarterback get his lunch eaten every time he takes a snap. That's no longer us.
Yeah. Derek Carr sacked 6 times in this game. And looking at Russell Wilson's games to this point, after the first couple games, we kind of thought it was the same old offensive line because he took 6 sacks against the Broncos, took 6 sacks against the Bears. And now just in the last 4 games, he's been sacked 7 times total.
Yeah, I saw an article entitled on the Field Goal site by Kenneth Arthur that is something along the lines of, are the Seahawks the best pass protecting offensive line in football? was something to that nature.
Yeah. That's a fun question to ask.
Beat back the truck up. Like, they're better because we've actually committed to running the football, which means there's less passing attempts, which means you stay ahead of the sticks. And when you do all of those things combined, it makes it harder for the defense to just pin their ears back and come after you.
Sure.
It's not so much, I mean, they have improved in pass protection, but it's more the circumstances that you put them in. We've managed to control that and give them a better place to start from rather than just being, second and 29 and Von Miller's pinning his ears back against Jermaine Ifedi and just crushing Russell Wilson.
I think there is some to attribute, though, to the guards, especially DJ Fluker and J.R. Sweezy, because now Russell Wilson has that pocket thingy to step up into. Whereas if you have guards that you can't count on in that position, that's when you start to see Russell flush himself out. And we just haven't seen that. We've seen him stay in the pocket and have a lot of time. And I think the reason why you see Kenneth and others asking that kind of question is because, looking at the Pro Football Focus grades, since week 3, the Seahawks do have the best group of pass blockers in terms of how they're graded out.
Shh, stop it. Knock on wood. Don't say that again.
Okay.
I can't believe you just uttered that out loud.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'm not supposed to, but looking in this last game, you know how they do rank the players with their grades, and in the top 5, Jermaine Ifedi at number 5.
Be still my beating heart. This is the guy that I declared after week 3 of the preseason, he can't be on my team. Make him go away.
Yeah.
And he has really stepped up his game. Maybe it's because Jermaine Ifedi's wired a little similarly to myself. I'll coast until I'm put under pressure. And then when I'm put under real pressure and I have to perform, then okay. And I think maybe that's where we got, where everybody's like, all right, dude, seriously, it's time or you're gone. And it finally all clicked for him. Maybe it's Mike Solari being in his ear. Maybe it's being next to Fluke. Maybe it's a combination of all those things, but it has made a big difference for Russell Wilson the last 3 weeks because just like you said, we haven't seen him out doing pirouettes and scrambling around backwards and then spinning backwards again and spinning backwards again because it really does start with the guards like you were talking about. Mitigating that pressure up the middle has made a huge difference. I don't care if you're Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson. I don't care who you are, but you get pressure immediately up the middle and you're cooked. That's been something that's been happening to Russell for a long time, and it's nice to see him be able to settle in the pocket and just throw dimes.
And not only that, I mean, they probably started out with 2 of their most difficult defensive lines to face. And so now it's maybe a little bit easier on them, too, and that's nice.
That is nice. That feels good. But that baptism by fire the first 2 weeks, that has seemingly galvanized this unit. And looking at this roster from top to bottom right now in terms of quality of play, I think you got to rank the offensive line group as the best or one of the 3 best groups on the team right now.
It's one of the highlights for sure. And it's kind of exciting to be able to not have to talk about them negatively like we've done in the past. But, getting back to the game after that Derek Carr strip sack, it was a dominant win, but there was a point in this game where you kind of scratched your head a little bit. And it was right after that strip sack with Carr because the offense gets the ball and all they do was go backward. Because they had the penalty called, and then there was another penalty, and gosh, you're going, come on, guys, this is the time to put, kind of step on them a little bit.
Oh, well, so you say the one drive, they backed themselves up with all these self-inflicted wounds, right?
Right.
That was the one drive.
That was the one.
Like the rest of the drives were either efficient and scored points or flip field position. I mean, all day long, I didn't feel like the offense was going to go out there and lay an egg on any given drive. And just as long as they stayed out of their own way, they'd be completely fine. And part of it was Schottenheimer was a little creative in this game. And I have been saying for the longest time, I'll be the happiest person in the world to say I was dead wrong about Schottenheimer. Okay? And this game, he started to prove me wrong a little bit. Just the way that he used Tyler Lockett in the backfield with motions and the jet sweep and fake jet sweep, all that stuff, bubble screens. And I know I'm praising bubble screens right now, but just It was creative, and it kept the defense on their heels. And you talked about that play to Tyrone Swoops, the defense confused because of the motion of Tyler Lockett. We're starting to see that, and it's making a difference.
And apparently it doesn't even make a difference if Russell Wilson is fumbling the snaps, because apparently when he does, he just throws touchdowns.
There's a shotgun snap. Russell fumbles the snap, looks, pump fake, steps up, throws to the end zone. Moore is there. He's in the end zone. Touchdown, Seahawks, as Moore goes over the back railing behind the end zone, nearest the stands, but he hangs on for a 19-yard touchdown reception, his third of this season.
Which was your favorite circus act of that play? Russell Wilson dropping the ball, calmly picking it up and just tossing a touchdown, or David Moore doing a somersault basically over top of the little fake video wall?
Why they have that video wall in the end zone anyway, especially so close?
Why getting them checks?
I guess. I
don't know. The NFL talks about player safety all the time, right?
Yeah,
and
maybe
give them a little room. Tarp, that stupid slippery tarp they make them stand on the sidelines where guys get hurt all the time, and then this little faux, 2-foot video fence they put all the way around it. Like, it was just a hazard out there for no reason.
Thankfully, nobody got hurt by either of those things, but Moore doing a good job to jump over it. Yeah, two incredibly athletic plays by Wilson and Moore on that play, and it ends up with the touchdown.
Sure does, and this is the second week in a row that we see David Moore really shine. If he can be a difference maker as a receiver, with all that athleticism that we heard about throughout the preseason, this takes the offense just one more notch up to another level. Like, this offense has been ramping up over the season, and it started when we really committed to giving the ball to Chris Carson. Not just running the ball, give the ball to Chris Carson primarily.
Yeah.
Now you can see everything that we can build off of that. And that's what was really exciting to see in this Raiders game, is how much we're able to start to open it up, building off of that successful running game with the physical Chris Carson.
And we'll get to Chris Carson some more, but just to stay on David Moore for one more second, 2 catches, 47 yards, the touchdown. He would have had a touchdown early on that first drive as well if Darryl Worley isn't holding his arm down, because he was in position for that touchdown. And going back and listening to the TV broadcast, they're like, that's a good no call right there. A good no call. He had a hold of the dude's arm.
Yeah, he literally held his arm down the entire
catfish
route.
Yeah.
At least at the end of it.
Right.
When he was going into the end zone. Great defense. Sure, if you're cheating.
I don't know how you as a broadcaster.
This broadcast team had the struggles.
Oh, gosh.
First play of the game. Jet sweep to Lockett. Oh, nice run by Chris Carson.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but follows it up on second down with talking about the Chris Carson run again when it was Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Michael Dickerson had a nice punt.
He sure did.
Well, I think I heard another Rashard Penny too. So
yeah, that one I have a little sympathy for.
Yeah,
that one I get. I mean, there's lots of Rashards and Rashads out there, so I understand getting that one mixed up every now and then. But then too, what was hilarious is at the. Let's see, what was it? It would have been after the kickoff, after the first touchdown, and it was a touchback. And all of our special teamers, I mean, if you haven't been to a lot of games, or if you've never had the privilege of going to the Clink or to any Seahawks game, when there is a touchback and there's no return, all of the cover guys go screaming down to the end zone, up to the fence where all the fans are, close to the stands, and is trying to get people fired up.
Yeah.
And they do a heck of a job at it. And it just so happens that that's what they were doing. And all those cheers that you were hearing on the TV broadcast, that was all of us, me, Brandon, all of us 12s that were there, like just cheering our butts off because A, it was just a touchdown. B, the special teamers were down there like getting us fired up. Derek Carr comes trotting out onto the field, and the announcers, Raider Nation welcoming Derek Carr to the field. Not so much, buddy.
No, that was not Raider Nation.
No.
Yeah, I enjoyed listening back to that part too. Not a whole lot of reference to the crowd and how much noise the Seahawks fans were making for the road team.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't think it came across in the TV copy as well as it did in person.
Yeah,
it felt louder in person.
It did, but it was noticeable. It was a noticeable difference listening on the TV.
Oh, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
But it wasn't I mean, it wasn't like CenturyLink.
No. I mean, we did our best.
It clearly felt like more of a home game atmosphere for the Seahawks, which was cool.
Right.
But going into the end of the second half, one nice play by the Seahawks and Bobby Wagner getting to Derek Carr on that 4th and 1 as getting into the final minutes of the second quarter. They really were kind of moving the ball. They had gotten the ball with 4 minutes left in that second quarter and crossed the midfield, and they decide to go for it on 4th and 1. Bobby Wagner gets the stop, and the Seahawks get it back in time to kick a field goal and really put the game out of reach by halftime.
Yeah, that was an amazing stop right there. There was a number of drives that the Raiders moved the ball between, the 40s, basically, right? Like in the middle of the field. I would say the 20s, but they didn't really get down into even the 20s very often, at least on our side of the field.
Well, and you kind of made that comment after we got done talking about the game on Sunday. Was
the lack of disparity in
the time of possession only 31 minutes for the Seahawks and 28 and a half for the Raiders. And not a big difference, especially considering with Seattle having a 7.5 minute drive to start the game and being able to close it out in the way they did. What was that? In the fourth quarter, they got the ball. In the fourth quarter, they got the ball with 8 minutes, 18 seconds left, and they ran out the clock.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
And still, they talk about 5 minute offense like that. 8 minute offense to just milk the clock out. That's pretty impressive.
They scored the touchdown right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then the Raiders had the ball, and then the Seahawks had the ball. That was it. Those were the only possessions in the fourth quarter.
That's amazing. And you got to attribute that to third down conversions. I mean, this is the second week in a row where the Seahawks have looked good on third down offensively.
Yeah, this was some of the best. Maybe even the best that they've looked on third down at this point in the season. 9 of 13.
Yeah, I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah,
absolutely. Keeps your defense off the field, keeps the chains moving. You got to love that. I mean, we were really wringing our hands after week 1 and week 2 regarding third down. I mean, that's really where the struggles had been.
Mm-hmm.
To watch this team grow and evolve like this so quickly is pretty impressive. Now, is there a part of you, Brandon, that feels like this is fool's gold a little bit? Just because of quality of opponent?
It does concern me a little bit in terms of quality of opponent, but they did just play the Rams too and had some fair amount of success on third down.
Did it okay?
Was it okay?
It was way better. Yeah, it was way better than before. I mean, the offense went toe to toe with the Rams offense.
It was mostly that fourth quarter not being able to get any conversions there. So
yeah, they just ended up having that one self-inflicted drive right at the end with penalties. Apparently, we're due for one of those a game. Which is better than 3 of those a game.
Right.
Which is what it used to be.
Well, another guy to give credit to in this game, Mr. Doug Baldwin, who I think many of us were predicting to have kind of a breakout game because he hadn't really had one of those games yet this season. He has 6 catches, 91 yards, and a big part of that was this connection between Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin.
Takes the snap. 4-man rush by the Raiders. He's got time, steps up, he's going to let it fly. Got Doug Baldwin deep. Baldwin reaches back. He makes the catch at the 10-yard line. Worley looked back and never found the ball. Doug Baldwin did. Baldwin comes alive in the second half. He picks up 42 and a first down.
So, do you think that Russell Wilson walked out onto the field with Doug Baldwin that drive and just looked at the other guys and been like, all right, you guys just need to stand here, and this is going to be the Doug Baldwin drive. Like, he might as well have just left the rest of the receiving core on the sideline.
He almost, really, there was another drive like that in the second quarter, too, where he hits Doug Baldwin with a 6-yard pass early on, and then he threw the bomb to him in the end zone, and Baldwin came up, just short. And then that was the same drive, too, where Doug Baldwin just came up short of the sticks, slipped on the ground, and ended up with the delay of game penalty, and that's a very curious penalty to call a delay of game when a player spikes the ball. But then here you are as officials. You have to throw the flag. Then you have to explain the penalty. If you're really that concerned about the speed of the game.
On the officials? Yeah.
Yeah. The officials delayed the game more than Doug Baldwin did.
Well, that's not the point of the delay of the game penalty there. They don't want people showing people up.
I understand.
Yeah, because heaven forbid that a grown man spikes a ball in another grown man's face, and like everybody's got to contain their emotions. Like,
well, he was frustrated at him. He wasn't showing anybody up.
Well, sure. Not only that, even if he was, like, if you're an opponent, like, you should be able to keep your cool. I mean, we're all grown men out there.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Well, and Doug may have been trying to spike it with not the intent of it, bouncing up. You know how guys, just kind of slam their hand down with the ball, and I think he just lost control of the ball. And
sure, and it turns out oddly shaped footballs bounce in weird directions.
I'm not mad at Doug for the penalty.
Well, no, it's hard to be mad at anybody on the Seahawks franchise right now when they come away with such a dominant victory and give us this amazing feeling going into the bye week. This feeling that not only is this team what we thought they could be coming into this season, but they took that difficult start, they learned from it, they've turned it around, and they've built on it each and every week. And it feels like to me, as barring the Rams just choking a few games, we have a very good chance of taking the wild card spot or a wild card spot and doing some damage in the playoffs. Like, this feels like the second half of the season sets up well for Seattle to really come out here and pad their record, get into that wild card spot, if not win the division, if the Rams do happen to stumble. Like, I'm licking my chops to see them again. I can't wait. Like, I feel like this team can go toe-to-toe with anybody.
And they did get the win last year in LA. So it's not impossible to go on the road and get a win there. I'm absolutely looking forward to the Rams. I'm looking forward to the Vikings, the Packers. There's a lot of teams on the schedule where the Seahawks, I look at those matchups now with the way they're playing and say, yeah, we can play with any of those guys.
You would think so. And then
just
also
the way the physical nature with this team's playing, just up front, on the offensive line being physical, the back end of the defense is physical. Tedrick Thompson had another big hit on a receiver, Amari Cooper. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't Tedrick Thompson.
Oh, that's right. I don't know if you were aware. That was Bradley McDougall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still mad at you, Brandon, and really me too, for not being able to see that from about 120 yards away, live action, with no replays because it was an injury. But how dare you? How dare you mix up those two starting safeties?
Well, we try and put out an accurate show in our post game recaps. Sometimes apparently we're going to make mistakes, and I guess we just have to be accountable to one another and catch ourselves when those types of things happen.
We made fewer mistakes in that post game show after basically drinking beers before the game. Drinking multiple beers and shots after the game because a bunch of you little flockers were buying us shots, which is dangerous. I don't even do shots anymore, but somehow I was doing shots. And then get back to the hotel room, record the thing at 2 a.m., and we still made fewer mistakes than the announcing crew that is paid a crap ton of money to fly out there, study the game, and do the job correctly from a better vantage point on top of all that.
Yeah, we were in the end zone.
Right. So, yeah, I mean...
I feel okay about our post-game performance.
Dude, I'm giving us a gold medal.
Oh, you should.
Yeah.
Well, looking at the standings, it's kind of interesting. There's only two teams that have more than 3 wins in the entire NFC.
Right.
And that's New Orleans, and that's LA.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, the Seahawks, have as many wins as all those other teams. The Skins, the Cowboys, Philly, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, all of them have 3 wins. Carolina, they're in a good spot. Even losing their first 2 games of the season.
Especially losing their first 2 games of the season, especially having the majority of those games be on the road. Like, can we take that into account too?
Absolutely. I am.
Well, the national media apparently does not, because I keep seeing all these new power rankings and just people talking about the Seahawks in general.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting like the 17th, 18th, 19th best team in the league.
The Seahawks are behind the Cowboys in the power rankings, and most of them.
Right.
And that's the team that we beat.
Right. Like, pretty soundly.
And we have the same record. Like, how does that work?
I don't know.
Congrats, Cowboys. You won all your home games.
Yeah, in your craptastic division. Like, really, it's unbelievable to me. But really, the only guy that I've heard give Seattle its due at this point in the season Cowherd does his top 10 herd hierarchy or whatever the hell he calls it. And guess who came in at number 10?
Seattle.
Yeah. Because I think we're closer to there. I think we're closer to being in that top 10 mix. I look at the teams in the NFC that we're going to have to compete with for that wild card spot. I mean, we're talking who? Vikings, Packers, Carolina. Yeah, I mean, those are your guys, I would say.
Fortunately, we have the win over Dallas. If for some reason they have a claim to make on a potential wild card spot, I think ultimately Philly's probably going to break out of that division, with Carson Wentz. Kind of, he has to take some time to get in the swing of things to come back from injury.
Don't you feel like everybody in the NFC East, short of possibly the Eagles, are going to finish like 7-9 or 8-8? 8-8?
Yeah, I kind of do.
That just feels like they're going to get beat up on each other in their little weak division. And, well, except for maybe the Giants. They may finish 1-15.
You think they got their one win?
It's them, the Cardinals, or the Raiders for the worst team in the league, don't you think?
Yeah, those are the three.
Yeah.
Because Indy, I feel, is better than a one-win team, and San Fran's better than a one-win team.
Heck yeah. Those teams both go out and compete.
Yeah, even without Garoppolo, they're better than a one-win team.
Oh, yeah. C.J. Beathard is better than Eli Manning right now.
Oh, you know what? The Giants should trade for Beathard.
Dude, they should trade for anybody. How come they haven't called Kaepernick yet?
Yeah, well, maybe we could flip Hundley.
Ooh. I like this idea.
They could easily make
extra
it
draft capital.
They probably don't want to win 3 games.
Aren't we short a second next year? Do you think we could finagle a second out of Hundley? Probably not. Wishful thinking.
Get Hundley for a 6th and flip him for a second. Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, that'd be all right. No, that ain't happening. But you got to feel good about the Seahawks' chances coming up here over the next few weeks and making a push for the playoffs. This is going to be a team that's in the mix.
We talked about Schottenheimer a little bit. And I think that has been kind of the surprising thing over the last few games. And it kind of makes me wonder, too, with how things went in Chicago and Pete kind of saying, he was pushing him to do some different things. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he's given Schottenheimer a little more freedom to go with the plan as opposed to throwing in his influence. But at the same time, I see Pete kind of, as a head coach, probably doing that anyway, saying, this is what I want to do right now.
Yeah, Pete likes to go for those big chunk plays every now and then. Like, he gets excited by it, for sure. But does it feel like to you more that Pete looked at Shoddy and was like, all right, running the ball more, and we're doing it with Chris?
Yeah. Or
do you think it's Pete stepping back and being like, all right, Shoddy, you do you. And being more hands off. I'm more of a defensive coach. Here you go. You do you. You and Solari figure this out.
I don't know. That's kind of one of the things I'm curious about is how that dynamic has worked out, because they really did spread the ball around quite a bit in this game. Carson was the lead rusher, 14 carries, 59 yards, but we saw Penny get involved relatively early in the game. He had 9 rushes, 43 yards. He had the one screen pass for 24 yards on that opening drive. He finishes with 2 catches, 27 yards. So in terms of...
That was a slick screen pass, too.
Yeah.
That was a slick screen pass, because I don't know how many times you've seen this, Brandon. I haven't seen it happen very often, to run a screen off of play action. That doesn't happen often.
And when they line up the receivers on the left side and kind of send them both on slants toward the right, they had the entire defense thinking they were going right. And then you see Britt kind of slip out from a center spot and be the lead blocker over there for Penny. It was a pretty slickly designed screenplay.
Yeah, all of the receivers' routes were run as if it's going to be a called boot out to the right.
Right.
And again, just like you said, it drug the whole defense over to that side with them. Britt sneaks out there, and it was smooth sailing for Penny. We've been clamoring for more screens since the beginning of the season, and that was a well-timed, well done screen.
Yeah.
And Penny did pretty good with it.
Yeah, he could have, if he is able to make a couple guys miss, then he's going even farther. But if we
I thought he was the guy that made everybody miss, and he broke all these off every single time.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen it.
Well, I do think that, and listening to Rabel and Wyman in the broadcast too, they are recognizing some growth in Penny. And I think it did hurt him a little bit being out as much as he was in the preseason. And now you have to find those moments within the game so he has some opportunities, and then even some opportunities to where he can learn from. And you can start to see some of that growth, I think.
You don't have to do that. No, absolutely not. You do not have to do that. You can actually have him ride the pine and put in your better players.
But in a game like this where you're up 27-3, why not get him involved?
Then fine. But overall, like, I still don't need to see that guy out on the field yet. He just needs a year.
I'm super happy having 3 guys who I could say, okay, Chris Carson, absolutely. He's the guy. And then you look behind him and say, yeah, Mike Davis, absolutely capable. You know, he gets in there. He has 21 yards on 6 carries, has a catch. And, you know, and we've seen him have a solid day.
Here's a question for you. When J.D. McKissic comes back, who do you rather see filling in on that as that third back in that scat back role? Do you want to see Penny or do you want to see McKissic?
I don't know.
McKissic all day, and it's not even close.
You think so?
Did you see what McKissic did last year behind the offensive line that was porous as all get out? Like, I can't wait to see what McKissic can do with this offense.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to have 4 guys that we can count on.
Yeah, I'm excited for 3 guys, and that fourth guy can just sit and ride the pine. He wears number 20.
Well, he'll get his chance. He's got plenty of time.
Right. I'm super stoked to see Rashad Penny next year. Like, after a full offseason, just learning the game, learn how to be a professional. Like, then, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, trying to wait for next season. I'd be happy with him breaking out at any point.
Well, sure, so would I, but like,
don't try and hold it back at him. Don't try and hold back our number 1 pick.
I'd be happy if Tedrick Thompson turned into Earl Thomas tomorrow too, but it ain't happening. Okay, like he can still be good and play his game, but like I just don't see. It's just not going to happen. Penny's not breaking out this year. It's not happening.
Okay, well, you said that Jermaine Ifedi wasn't going to be good this year either, so
sometimes I put these things out in the ether just so that I can be proven wrong and be super happy about it.
Yeah. Looking at some of the PFF grades, one guy who had a nice game that I think we should recognize, Jacob Martin, among some of the top graded players on the defensive line, only in there for 28 snaps, so about half the snaps on defense, but he made his presence known. He had the fumble recovery, credited for 3 hurries in this game. So nice to see the rookie, a 6th round pick, making his presence known.
Oh, man. I mean, that whole defensive line, they really just showed up. But yeah, lesser known guys like Brandon Jackson. I mean, great game by him. Watching the Seahawks mic'd up, it sounds like Puna must have got in there for a couple nice plays because he heard the whole sideline erupt with Puna a few times. So that was cool.
Yeah, he was actually, looking at the grades, he was the 5th graded out player on the defense. Your top 5, Frank Clark, obviously at number 1, got McDougal, Jacob Martin, Quentin Jefferson, and Puna Ford. And in there for about a third of the plays, Ford was. But every time that he's been in there, he's shown that he can be kind of that run-stopping guy. You want him riding the pine, or do you want them working him in there so he can kind of be one of those interior defenders of the future, Adam?
Well, yeah, I want him in there.
I don't know. You said you're happy with our 1st-round pick riding the pine. I just wanted to check to see if our undrafted guy had to ride the pine, too.
One can't play right now. Like, it's very simple. Are you productive or not productive right now? Puna Ford productive. Penny not productive.
The only thing was Penny was
Puna
the
productive, Penny not productive. Try saying that 10 times fast.
That's a lot of P's. But it turned out Penny was the most productive running back in this last game against the Raiders. So, okay.
He was the most productive in what way?
In terms of yards.
Well, just because of that screen.
And 9 rushes for 43 yards.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Carson was the tone setter, man.
Oh, he was the tone setter for sure.
Over 4 yards of carry, just punishing people.
We did see Penny have a couple runs, inside runs too. That
looked,
yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
It was better.
It was better. It was better, and good for him. Keep working at it, Penny.
18 total pressures by this defensive line in this game. Clark leading the way with 4. Jacob Martin, Brandon Jackson, Jaron Reed having 3. Reed had the sack. Jackson also had a sack. And then Quentin Jefferson in there with 2 as well. So, despite the 18 pressures in this game against Oakland, isn't the defensive line still kind of the unit on defense, and maybe even the whole team, where you still have a few questions about? You asked about third downs being kind of that wondering if that's sustainable. How do you feel about the defensive line at this point?
I feel pretty darn good about him. It's going to be a test coming up. I mean, really, the quality of opponent goes up over the next few weeks. I mean, not counting Detroit. But this is a young, hungry group with a bunch of different guys with different skill sets that really mesh together well. And they're able to rotate those guys in and keep them fresh. And when you get Green back, I think that's going to be another huge boon to this defensive line. And it sounds like that may happen here against Detroit. Yeah,
Deion Jordan didn't play in this game either. Another guy coming back against Detroit. You expect KJ Wright to be back in there. Get KJ back.
That's the exciting one.
You get even getting Nick Vannett back potentially. Ed Dixon, who we haven't seen, getting him in there at tight end. They're getting some pretty exciting pieces coming back after the bye.
Yeah, Vannett a little less exciting, but Dixon,
it's fine.
Dixon is interesting because he's a legit professional tight end.
Yeah.
You know, we've gotten by after the Will Disley injury with Vannett and swoops and that sort of thing. But having somebody like Dixon come in, who could also be called Dickerson by the announcers, like they
maybe that's how they differentiate.
Yeah,
it'll be Michael Dickerson, Ed Dixon. Dixon's more of the veteran. Ed Dixon's more of the veteran, so he gets to keep his last name.
Right. Yeah, I like it. That makes sense. So, but Ed Dixon, I think, could be a factor. I mean, he's a good blocker, and he knows his last year in Carolina was his best year receiving. And Russell Wilson can work with him. I'm pretty positive on that. So I just feel like that'll be another little added dimension to this Seahawks offense upon his return. But KJ Wright's the one. Right? Like when you look at that list of names of dudes coming back, man, between having KJ back and then Bobby playing at the level he's playing at and then Mingo playing at the level he's playing at.
Yeah.
Mingo is really a good jack of all trades as a linebacker, the strong side linebacker, doing a really nice job. What a pickup and a bargain find.
I think you have a lot of these guys that they have something to prove, and it's cool that they can come to Seattle and do that. And Mingo even kind of filling in that KJ Wright spot, which is nice. We did see Shaquem get in there a little bit toward the end of the game, but clearly we saw not really ready for prime time early on in the season. That's fine; he's a rookie, but for Mingo to be able to be that versatile has been very helpful.
Oh, absolutely. Him and Calitro? Yeah. Like they've really...
He was in there a little bit too. Calitro only had 14 snaps in this game, but...
I thought you were talking just over the course of the season at this point. Yeah. He's just been a nice addition and somebody that's come in and, helped us tread water at the linebacker position as we worked through KJ's injury. Sounds like he did have a setback early on, but I mean, from what I'm hearing out of Pete, it seems positive regarding KJ, and I'd be stunned.
Pete was saying positive things with regard to injury?
Well, I mean, sometimes he says things that maybe aren't negative, but are kind of net neutral. Like, what's his favorite term for guys that are battling? He's battling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he's battling.
Yeah. He's battling to get back with us and blah, blah, blah. We're not hearing none of that. So that seems good.
Well, one more highlight from this game. One more touchdown. Tyler Lockett this season. Russell finding him in the back of the end zone for his 5th touchdown in 6 games.
Russell steps up in the pocket, going to scramble, lays it up over the top, reaching up, making the catch is Lockett. Touchdown, Seahawks! Tyler Lockett again scoring for the Seahawks. He has been on fire this season, and Russell, running toward the line of scrimmage, just dumps it over the top for Lockett's 5th touchdown reception of the season.
Boy, Tyler Lockett back and healthy and just tearing up the league. I mean, this is the Tyler Lockett that I think everybody expected to see after his rookie season with all that hype. And you heard all the fantasy people talking about, Tyler Lockett and everything he was going to do. Well, here it is. It's finally all come together. He's making a case to take over the number 1 wide receiver position from Doug Baldwin. He's going to give it his all.
But having him battling.
He's battling, but having him in Baldwin as your primary 1-2 punch in the passing game, I mean, short of being a little undersized as a duo, they really do get it done out there.
Yeah, and then if you have David Moore coming in and trying to take that 3rd spot over veterans like Brandon Marshall, and
trying to take,
he already has it.
Yeah, he owns that, and he's got some killer salsa dance moves. I don't know if you saw that video of him on the sidelines as the music was playing. He was kind of doing a little salsa dance.
Oh, was he? Oh, do we have our own Victor Cruz?
Yeah, he's got his own flavor, though.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, 360 yards just through these first 6 games for Tyler Lockett. And as we've seen in past seasons, he's only started 8 or 9 games in each of the previous 3 seasons. And so now it is his full-time job. He's going to take down that 664 yards that he had in his rookie season as his top mark for receiving, as long as he stays healthy this year. Already, he had 6 receiving touchdowns just in his first year, and he's already at 5. So it's really cool to see him having so much success, especially considering the contract that he signed early on this season.
It still looks like a bargain, doesn't it?
It's looking good.
Yeah.
I like the bargain contracts. I know the players may not care for it much. That may be why Frank Clark's holding out at this point. Going,
I don't know. I bet you Tyler Lockett was pretty excited to sign that contract when he did.
He was.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Frank Clark, come on, get that done.
Yeah.
Do it sooner.
Yeah. Don't wait until he gets named to the Pro Bowl.
The number one story I want to hear out of the bye week? Frank Clark's extension.
Yeah.
And how it got done. That's what I want to hear.
That'd be all right. All right, Adam. Well, I think that is a pretty good recap. We got our highlights in, we got our corrections in from the last show. So, what do you say we hit the back half and talk about our how much fun we had and all the little flockers that we met on the trip?
Well, that should be entertaining because it was more fun than a person should be allowed to have.
Getting into the second half of the show. If you haven't checked it out already, go to seahawkers.org. If you want to find a Seahawkers chapter near you, we found out that there's chapters all over the world, including Germany, a pretty big chapter, apparently. And along with the UK chapter, we found a lot of people from England and Deutschland there at the game.
Holy smokes, 12s from everywhere. All of you little flockers that showed up at the listener meetup before and after the games and just along the way, the Stringer family, everyone, just what an amazing, number one, welcome for us. And then B, such a treat to get to put names to faces and actually, see you guys in person. Just Dave, for example, like that's a great example of somebody who, obviously I've heard his voice, like all of that. He always has these great messages and stuff, but to get to see him live and in person and just what a hustler he is. That was really fun. Dave can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman wearing white gloves, man.
Yeah.
He's a smooth talker.
Dave was super fun. Yeah. Big thanks to the Stringers. They put us up for the first night that we were in town. JC making us dinner, got to hang out with Holly and Colin, and then made breakfast for us the next morning. That was amazing. Before we got to go on the incredible bus tour with so many of the other Seahawkers, filling 2 double-decker buses and going around. And telling my wife the story of our travels on the buses, she felt as though that maybe we were being very American on our bus trip over there.
Hells yeah. It was all America. And not only that, we were terrorizing the city of London for about 4 hours from these double-decker buses. And it was a ball. And to think that somehow that was a negative and people didn't like it, wrong. The reception in the streets was nothing but warm. And it was a lot of fun to see, just as we traveled around, all the other 12s milling about London. And then the occasional Lost Raiders fan.
I have to think that if it were somehow uncool of us to do what we were doing, the bus tour guide, who was from England, would not have been starting the Seahawks chants.
It's starting. He reveled in the idea that he had this group of people under his spell and he could just go, see, and everybody would, respond like a Pavlovian dog, just Hawks. Can't help it. Just comes out.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed that maybe a little too much.
But
maybe.
it was good to bring him in as part of the crowd.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Both the tour guides for both buses, just everybody that was on the tour. I know a lot of folks saw the video of all of the 12s in front of Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
Just giving it to the Queen. She probably wasn't even there. Probably couldn't even hear it, but it felt good.
I think there's a way that you're supposed to be able to tell based on the flag that's out front, but I didn't look for that, so I don't know. But
if the Queen be there?
Yeah.
She's got a the Queen is in flag?
She does, yeah.
Queen is out flag?
Uh-huh. It did worry me a little bit, though, after our big chant out in front of the palace when the mounted guards came out into the kind of the square there. I was a little bit concerned, but we're fine.
Look, they're on horses. What's the big deal? You just spook their horse and then it's fine.
Yeah,
they don't carry guns over there. What are they going to do? Wave their stick at you?
I think horses are bad enough to worry about. They can trample you.
They can, or you can scare them away. They're skittish creatures.
Okay. Well, You mentioned Dave Bloomquist, and big thanks to him helping out. He was the one that kind of organized our Seahawkers podcast in London Facebook group leading up to the game, and then he also reserved the area at the Rocket before the game, and suggested we meet there afterward too, and along with Barry and John Davison. So,
oh man, yeah, how remiss am I to talk about Barry and John? I mean, again, two guys that I've been so wanting to meet face to face and not disappointed at all. my bud Andy, like, man, we had some good talks about Affetti throughout the night. That was a lot of fun. Just what a cool group. I have never in my life, Brandon, walked into a room with a group of people and been cheered for half a second.
It was like coming into your home bar, like the show Cheers. It was like that.
It was. Everybody knew our name.
Yeah.
And they were glad we came. It was a lot of fun.
Now, are we more like Norm and Cliff, or are we more like Woody and Sam? I don't know.
So there's a problem with both analogies, right? We may have to mix them together.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, because I feel more like Woody, right? But I don't think you're as smooth as Sam. So I don't think we can do that.
That's okay. Yeah. I'm fine with being Cliff. Cliff's, he's kind of quiet.
Yeah, just with like kind of the snide comments from the background.
Yeah, okay.
You feel like a Cliff, and I feel like a dingbat Woody. I think that would, So go ahead and clip that out.
Maybe Bloomquist is Sam. Maybe that's how that works. And we have a voicemail once again from Mr. Dave Bloomquist, or Dave Van Dyke, as he's named this sound clip.
Hello, British Brandon and Argy Bargy Adam. One more chance to chuff off John, Jason and Craig with me total spot-on accent. I had a great time in London with yous, I did. Our Moriarty's on Saturday and Sunday were right aces. I'm tickled what we travelled long and far to finally meet. As I sussed, them manky Raiders hardly gave us a proper match. They didn't even show up, cold blimey. Russell Wilson really gave them the in and out, he did. Me memories of this weekend will fill me heart forever, and I got all me flock of mates to thank. So now it's time to pack me chimney broom and head back to Hong Kong. But one last thing. Go Hawks.
I really enjoy Dave's commitment to character. Like, he really gets into it.
I could feel some tweaks there, because I know that when he met John...
Oh, Craig gave him the business over this.
Did he?
And John gave him the business over this, too. And
Dave was certain that he sounded like John, like exactly like him. No, not so much.
He does, because they all sound alike, all you Brits. I don't care how much you're trying to tell us that we're wrong on this. Yeah, like it. No, you do. You do.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad Craig got into him, too. Because I think Dave deserved it a little bit.
I don't know, man.
But it was such a cool group, and I know I've mentioned it before, but just the amount, the different countries that were represented just in that small group. You had Kerry that came down from Scotland. You had Owen and his brother and his dad who came over from Ireland. You had everybody there who was, in England. You had Alex and Sven who came over from Germany, and Cora and her partner, Christian up in Norway, and Leo who came from Sweden and representing France. He had Anders coming from Denmark and his partner. So, that was, and I'm probably forgetting people too, because that was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was the hardest part, was just being sure to kind of be able to get around and actually have a quality conversation with everybody that made the trip. I hope everybody felt welcomed and appreciated for being there, because, geez Louise, Brandon and I talked about it a lot on the trip back, and one of the things that makes this as fulfilling as it is were moments just like that. Those are things that I will remember forever. And knowing that, we all kind of are in this little group together is just, it's so fulfilling. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is a fun community to be a part of. And to think that this was the show that brought it all together. It's wild. So
It's crazy.
And speaking of that community, we have some new people to add to our list of flockers this week.
We got some new little flockers?
Yeah, we can officially call this Flocktober now.
Yes, here it is. Well, that's better than Brocktober for the Dolphins, I think.
True.
So, yeah.
So some of our Flocktober new members, Leslie Rodriguez, came in at 5. Thank you, Leslie. Welcome to the flock.
Leslie. Yeah.
Welcoming Eric Long to the flock in at 1212. He will join our Facebook group.
Do you think he's one of the illegitimate sons from Howie Long? Because the other Longs played in the league.
Yeah, this is the unknown one that's kind of the black sheep and the Seahawks
like
fan.
the Cooper Manning.
Eric Long is the Cooper Manning of the Long family.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, Eric. And correct us if we're wrong.
Indeed, I undoubtedly we're wrong, but
really? I don't know. I think there's a chance here.
Jonathan Chivers in at $3, getting into the Pick'em League. Jonathan, welcome to the flock.
Welcome to the flock, man.
And Paul Vogelsberger in for 5. We'll be sending a patch Paul's way. Welcome to the flock, Paul.
Man, really? This many after we got skunked last week?
Yeah, we even got some raises, too, from Scott Romani. He bumped his up from 3 to 1212. And Brian DeLude also bumped his up from 3 to 1212. And John Anderson, who, one of our flockers there in the bar, bumped his up from 3 to 5 and attributed that to the fact that I delivered patches to everybody that showed up. And he thought, he'll bump it up to 5 then.
Right. I mean, it helps pay for the plane ticket, right? To go over there and deliver it by hand.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty cool.
And
yeah, I mean, I was starting to lose faith in, any new little flockers coming along, the flock itself, after last week and getting skunked, but then going to London and hanging out with all you guys and then watching as many of you come through this week as you have. I am proud of the flock. I'm beaming with pride.
Well, John Anderson sends along an email as well. We got a couple emails to get into here. John says, "Evening, Adam and Brandon from across the pond, your new adopted second home. Hope you both had a safe journey home. I'm guessing you guys will be inundated with emails after last weekend's game and meetup. Just wanted to drop you a note to say it was a privilege meeting you at the Rocket on Sunday before and after the game with all the little flockers and Barry the Redskin, chatting with the 12s from all across the world. Made for a great day all around, including a very dominating performance by the Hawks. I've attended over 10 Wembley games now, and I know I'm biased, but that was over and above any atmosphere or support for a team I've seen. Makes me feel very lucky and honored to be a fan of this team, organization, and of course, being a little flocker. I'm going to finish my email with a few better at life than Skip Bayless, if you don't mind me pitching your ideas. Number 1, all the little flockers, and especially everyone who attended the Rocket on Sunday. Number 2, 12s from all across the world, best fans in the world. Number 3, Paul Allen, rest in peace, taken too soon from this world. Number 4, the whole Seattle Seahawks organization. And last but not least, you two guys for all your dedication, including recording a 2 a.m. postgame pod. This time, and hard work you put into the podcast, much appreciated. Hope to meet again one day. Thanks again from John Anderson. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, John. We have gotten a lot of emails since the trip, which has been really cool. Just with people reaching out and expressing how much fun it was for them, just as much as it was for us. And that was really outstanding.
John gets the award for having the best jersey because he was rocking the throwback.
Oh, that's right.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah, no, it was well done.
Well, another one of our flockers that we mentioned from who joined us at the Rocket, Craig Humphrey. He's in with an email as well. Says, "Hey, Brandon and Adam. Well, that was a day that I'll never forget. Sunday set a bar that, short of being there in person to see the Hawks win the Super Bowl, no game day will ever be able to match. The game was special enough on its own. To see the Hawks play live in London, to see the 12s take over not only Wembley, but London, and for the Hawks to smash the Raiders from the beginning. Well, it was everything I could have hoped for. But what made the day unique and special in a way that can never be matched was the Flockers meetup before the game. To have a chance to meet up and hang out with so many members of the special community you guys have created was amazing. To get to spend time with yourselves, and thank you in person for all that you've done, to meet up with old friends, John and Barry, and to meet and make new friends from the Flockers group, John, Holly, Christian, Anders, Lisa, Dave, to name a few, made it a once-in-a-lifetime event. I'll even look back fondly on Hong Kong Hawk's attempt at a British accent, which, what it lacked in accuracy, made up for in spirit and enthusiasm."
There it is.
I know from the posts on the Facebook and WhatsApp groups that people are suffering a bit of a come down from Sunday's high. But nothing will ever take that special day from us, and I know it will drive us to meet up again at future Hawks and NFL London games. Anyway, I won't take any longer, as I'm sure you've got a lot of messages in from the London gang, so with that, there's only one thing left to say. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, Craig. Yeah, there has been a definite sense among the flock that were there and everything that everybody was kind of like, oh, man, like, then we don't get to hang out again until who knows when, right?
I know.
And then not only that, but then it's the bye week. We don't even have a game to kind of watch and commiserate together over.
Yeah,
this coming week. I know Annalisa is feeling a little feeling the feels over that a little bit this week. But I think one of the things Brandon and I talked about on the way back that needs to happen is I think we're going to have to do this road game once a year thing every year. I think this is something that needs to happen.
Yeah, and whether or not everybody can make it, I know Adam and I can at least make the attempt to try and find one spot where we can all gather on the road. And maybe we try and work it out to where it's primarily toward the east, just to make it easier for some folks if they're coming over. But definitely one road game a year, I think we're committed to. Well,
yeah, and even if some of the folks, say, from the UK can't make it over to the US for something like that, there will be other flockers that we have yet to meet face to face in that area. That would be, I mean, just equally as fun.
Absolutely. One more email here from Mario from Münster, Deutschland. Hey guys, I just want to thank you for a great show. I'm a huge fan of your podcast since I found it on Spotify. After listening to the latest episode after the London game, I wanted to send you a message. I enjoy your expertise and your enthusiasm, especially the way your voices sounded after cheering at Wembley for our team. I wish you all the best. Go Hawks, from Mario.
Hey, thanks, man. Go Hawks. I just, I'm really glad that I don't sound like I'm going through puberty anymore. That was tough, man.
Yeah, I think we've bounced back a little from that. That's good.
All I know is I left it all on the field, and I'm very proud of myself. And at the Rocket.
Yeah.
I left it in those two places.
Yeah. Well, we were struggling during the game. You know, we had to take off downs, which I'm not used to.
There came a point where I looked at you, and this is much to my own chagrin. I said, I'm going to have to be a situational cheerer here and just come in on third downs.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't consistently keep the effort up.
By the time, and that was kind of around halftime when they were up 17-0. So it felt okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we could let some of the younger guys play, and then, yeah.
You know, you even see the running back every once in a while when he's just been running really hard. He's got to tap his helmet, you know, just to get a breather.
Definitely some helmet taps going on there, for sure.
All right. Well, before we get into Do Better and Better at Life, we got... we have an iTunes review from K. Stengham. So I have to guess that's Kevin. And it says, solid, great content, and highly recommended getting in the flock for bonus shows. Great quality sound, and these guys are really entertaining.
Well, thanks, man. I keep expecting the next one of these to call me out for one of the dumbass things I say all the time. But yet, still, like, people like Kevin come through and say nice things.
If you want to do that, that's what the YouTube channel's for.
Right. That seems to be the place for that. Yeah.
Call Adam out for his stupid stuff there.
Why do you think that it is that out of all the different platforms that we release the show on, that or in just in general, not just our show, but just in the overall public, why is it that YouTube is the more vicious place out of pretty much anywhere?
Well, I have to think that YouTube is actually relatively tame compared to other, for our channel, compared to other places on YouTube, because at least there's no hate speech on our YouTube page.
Yeah. Yeah, none yet. But I mean, the
idiot talk is fine.
Right. But what I'm getting at more is just as a whole, right? Like, for whatever reason, YouTube seems to garner the gnarliest of comments, no matter what the show or what it is. Yeah, I don't know.
More anonymity compared to some other places?
Is it? I don't know. I don't know. But it's weird.
I haven't taken that much time and care to really break this down.
Apparently, I have too much time on my hands sometimes.
This is something that you're genuinely curious about, apparently.
Yeah, I thought about it. I mean, for half a take.
Looking at some of the newspaper comment, message boards. True. You don't post there, so that could be worse. I think there's worse places.
Yeah, the USA Today message board. That got any sports article?
If our show posted up on like Pro Football Talk, that'd be another place where I'd expect a lot of negative comments.
Yeah, well, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll see a change in that one of these days. I don't know.
Think Pro Football Talk's coming?
Yeah, maybe something's coming.
Well, something is coming, and it is our Do Better and Better at Life.
All right, man. My Do Better this week, Brandon, it's for the NFL and all the people that are in support of this style of NFL that we've come to see over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys watch that Patriots-Chiefs game or really pretty much any game in the NFL right now. But this video game, Star Wars football, where it's just run up and down the field and there's no defense whatsoever, people claiming this is the future of football and how great it is. You guys don't know what you're talking about. This is not fun to watch. It's boring to watch. I might as well be watching, some crap college league where they just spread everybody out and both teams just run up and down the field all game. Who wants that? Then it just comes down to who has the ball in their hands last. Well, whoop-de-freaking do. I'd rather see a football game where, I don't know, half of the game is actually played, like on defense. Like right now, if you're going to actually say your defense is good, all you have to do is come up with 2 stops in a game. Your defense is amazing. You come up with 4 stops and hell, it's the 2000 Ravens. This is unbelievable. The lack of defensive football and the way the rules have been changed, the way the rules are being called, and the way that this is promoted is absolutely disgusting. And I hate this brand of football. So to everyone who's in support of this, and you know who you are, I've seen your articles out there, do better.
But I thought you were convinced that defenses were going to figure this out.
They are, but people celebrate that Chiefs-Patriots game as if that was an all-time great game. It was garbage. It was 7-on-7. Like, whoop-de-doo. I mean, I don't find a lot of joy in that.
No.
It doesn't feel like either offense is challenged in either way.
Right, when you just go doom down the field, and then the Chiefs, they're looking for a score, and they just throw one pass, and they're in the end zone.
Oh, there's 80 yards, got it.
Yeah.
And then Tom Brady just casually marches down the field. It's like, oh, we need a big play right now? Oh, well, I guess now is the time I throw it to Gronk for a big play. Thunk. And he just does it. Just no resistance whatsoever.
Not a lot of
boring ass football.
For sure.
No. You just don't feel like these quarterbacks are under, any duress whatsoever, that there's any form of resistance even put up in their way. And that's my curmudgeon coming out, man.
Your curmudgeon is coming out.
Get off my lawn. Give me some defense.
Well, speaking of defense, Bill Belichick was asked about one particular defender this last week, and Khalil Mack. And my do better is for Mike Reis from ESPN. And this ridiculous headline. And really, it's an entirely ridiculous article, because Belichick was asked about Khalil Mack and if he would put him in the same class as legendary Hall of Famer Lawrence Taylor. And so the headline is, Bill Belichick won't put Khalil Mack in same class as Lawrence Taylor. Well, freaking duh. To use your favorite phrase, Adam.
Yeah, freaking duh.
And then he goes on to say, he quotes Belichick himself saying, wait a minute, we're talking about Lawrence Taylor now. I'm not putting anybody in Lawrence Taylor's class. Put everybody down below that. With a lot of respect to a lot of good players, we're talking about Lawrence Taylor. I'm putting way too much inflection in my voice to be speaking like Bill Belichick.
All right, try again.
Wait a minute. We're talking about Lawrence Taylor now. I'm not putting anybody in Lawrence Taylor's class. Mm-hmm. Put everybody down below that. With a lot of respect to a lot of good players, we're talking about Lawrence Taylor's.
I like the sling blade you tossed in there.
Mustard and biscuits. Isn't that how Belichick talks?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just that kind of monotone. Just want to run the football, and we're looking forward to the Dolphins.
We're talking about Lawrence Taylor. I'm not putting Khalil Mack up against Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, he's talking about Lawrence Taylor. I mean, how many MVPs has Khalil Mack won?
None.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, Lawrence Taylor is the last defensive guy to win the MVP,
and so
because he's Lawrence freaking Taylor.
So why is this worthy of a news story, Mike Rice? This is not news. This is just this is obvious. Because unless somebody was putting Khalil Mack into the same class as Lawrence Taylor, that would be news. This is just what everybody thinks and expects. Mike Rice, do better.
Yeah, man. So, like, if I'm going to put this on like a science level, like if you're going to take the guy who invented Scotch tape, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is an amazing invention. It's changed all of our lives. We all love Scotch tape. Really cool invention. Guy got rich off of it. Changed the world. A great invention. We're not putting him in the same class as Einstein.
You don't even put him in the same class as a guy that uses Scotch tape really well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's a skill among itself. Really, duct tape would be more the better analogy here then if we're doing that. Like, because the use is for duct tape. Amazing. But yeah, I mean, you just don't put those two. Like,
should we break down should we do a power rankings of tape? Duct tape number 1.
Gorilla tape's right up there.
Okay.
Right? But I think we can all agree the worst tape is packing tape. It doesn't really stick to anything other than cardboard. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to tear off the roll, even with that stupid. Why is it that's the one form of tape that comes on that stupid dispenser? Like just the roll with the little plastic end sticking off of it with the cheese grater on the end that you can cut yourself up on, but never cuts the tape. It always rips off like crooked and tears halfway down the roll.
And masking tape is cool because you can put it on stuff and then you can take it back off again and there's no residue.
Right. Yeah, the masking tape clearly above packing tape.
Yeah.
Scotch tape above masking tape, duct tape above Scotch tape, and Gorilla tape above all others. Like, yeah, I think we just came up with the tape hierarchy. There it is.
I now know what we're going to get the most emails on in this coming week. People going, "Oh, you forgot about insert type of tape here."
Maybe. I don't know.
I want to see those emails now.
Right. I don't think there's any other tapes in those tapes. I think we got all the tapes.
We got all the tape. Well, I want to close out Better Life with a posthumous Better Life. And we've talked about him in the past, too. But Ian Robert Smith, I can't think of a better guy to recognize after the game this week. You know, he was one of the guys who was instrumental in growing the UK Seahawkers chapter. You know, he's been credited for being a driver that led to the creation of the German Seahawkers. And that was another big group that showed up in London. And it was very cool that there was a planned tribute at the end of the first quarter in the stadium to honor Ian. It was just kind of a bummer, though, that he wasn't able to physically attend the game. But I think we all know that he was certainly there in spirit. And for that, Ian Robert Smith, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Couldn't agree more. And I mean, all the folks that were honoring his memory there at the stadium, it was impressive. I mean, Ian obviously had an impact on probably even more people than he ever knew.
Yeah.
And just really cool to see everybody rally around the memory of him and have that little tribute. So, well done, dude. Good choice by you.
Well, there's one other posthumous Better at Life that I think we should close the show off with, and we did do a tribute show to Paul Allen, but it would only make sense that we close it by saying rest in peace, Paul Allen, and clearly better at life than Skip Bayless.
Thank you, Paul Allen. One of the best owners that a franchise could ever have. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Bonk, you like a hurricane.
Here I am. It's kind of a little bit 80s for you, dude. Are you into the Scorps?
No.